Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Day today is the 15th of July, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, aka Moton Noah. Got a massive show for you guys today. Big, huge, important show for you guys today. We were originally going to just be doing all of the active Hall of Famers, but this time in the Western Conference, part 2 to Friday's episode. But then the 45th president of the United States was almost assassinated, and as you know, here at the Coping Hour, we cover all the biggest stories, and we cover them from all angles. And Donald Trump being seemingly inches, feet, we'll see how close it actually was, away from getting his head blown off on national TV, does take some precedence. There's some shit that we got to talk about here, and I'm gonna say this up front, maybe. When something this serious happens in the world, but I still feel like I have to talk about it, my reactions are always such that I overreact. I'm a chronic overreactor, right? And so I've really challenged myself with this to take a step back and really kind of look at it for what it might end up being, like what the potential ramifications of this could mean. And you know how in recent weeks we've talked on this program about how America hasn't had a capital M moment in a while for good or bad reasons. I guess if you want to do for bad reasons, the last one was, if you're taking elections and the insurrection and all of that out of it, right? Like internationally, like globally, what is the worst thing that has quote unquote happened to America in the last, was the last capital M moment good or bad? The Afghanistan withdrawal, fucking up the Kabul withdrawal, probably that. Everything that happened at the airport, maybe that. I feel like I'm blanking on something. I'm not counting COVID because that was, again, the whole world. And then election stuff doesn't count, so I'm going to say it was probably that. So I say all of that just to say, wow, the consequences of Donald Trump almost getting assassinated, that feels pretty consequential. We'll get to all of that in just a second. Maybe we'll just start from the top with this one. I got sent the news within like 10 minutes of it happening, so I was on top of it pretty quick, and just like everybody else, you kind of spend the first like 30 minutes being like, so this is the funniest thing that's ever happened, because the first time you watch the video and you don't know what's going on, you don't really understand the gravity of it or like, you know, what the threat actually is. The gun like sounded weird and it was over really quick. I mean, there was what, 5 to 7 shots that rang out. It was over pretty much as soon as it started, and you couldn't really even figure out what the fuck happened. Trump, Secret Service jumps. Okay, so you're like, what? You're like, huh? And then once it starts to set in that was real, and the amount of alternate timelines that just skewed off in all these different directions. So far, we've seen there is a photo that's out there from, I believe, I'm sorry, I don't remember what reporter it's from. I'll put it on the screen. There's a photo that's out there of what looks like either a piece of debris or the bullet actually flying behind Donald Trump's head. Because there are 2 versions of this that we've heard so far. We've heard that he was actually grazed by the bullet, and that was what hit his ear. We've also heard that the bullet actually struck one of his teleprompters, you know, like the glass ones that have like the mirror, like the reflected image, and it hit the teleprompter, and it was a piece of glass that went, and like a fragment of that is what sliced his ear. So I still don't know. I still don't know. There's a lot of information here that we don't know. The Secret Service press conference, whoever gives it, whatever is it, when there's an official report that comes out about this, the language is going to be psychoanalyzed to a degree that we have not seen since probably the 9/11 shit, the commission, or what's the Kennedy thing? The investigation that they did, there's like a term for it. I can't remember what it was called. I don't remember, but probably since that, because you cannot have something this major happen. The first attempted assassination of a sitting president, not a sitting president, of a United States president, period, former or otherwise, since 1981. Since Ronald Reagan. You can't have something like this happen and people's brains not get melted by it and immediately go into conspiracy mode, which is where people went immediately and where people still are in a lot of regards, that this was a false flag attack of sorts. I'm going to be honest with you guys up front. 6 months from now, we might talk about it on the show, but right now I'm not going to do that. Because as funny as it is to entertain that, and as easy as it might be to get in your car and get from A to B on that one, I don't think that an attempt on the life of the American, I keep calling him the president. Keep calling him the president. What does that say about me? Well, first of all, because I think he may as well have just won the fucking election, but we'll talk about all that in just a second. I just don't think you're better than them. You know what I mean? And them can be whoever it is to you as an individual. But if you start saying it's in... Because it boils down to this. You think it was a false flag attack and you think that Donald Trump is just doing this to like gain some... Whatever. Okay. So you think it's that inconceivable that somebody wanted to kill Donald Trump? You think it was that hard to believe? That after... The real take here, at the risk of getting put on a fucking list and getting a knock on my door, is that are we all surprised that it took this long? And I say that for either of them, by the way. He or Joe. Because we've been doing this for 8 years now with Donald Trump, and I believe that the Secret Service has probably thwarted dozens, if not hundreds, of potential attempts on their lives. But you knew at some point it was probably going to happen with Donald Trump, and then it finally does. And you kind of can't believe it. And you talk about the alternate timelines that skewed here. And there's a world where we're sitting here this morning talking about the fact that Donald Trump is dead, that he was killed in Pennsylvania by a gunman who was, I don't know, between like 300 and 400 feet away from him in like a really just on the roof of this fucking building. The videos from this, first of all, I don't know if you guys saw the video of the kid actually getting taken out by the Secret Service, but Jesus Christ, they dropped his ass. And then the videos of the gunmen that are behind Trump on that roof, like staring down this. I mean, the whole thing to have been there is crazy. But okay, let's entertain it for just a second, because this is where my brain went. So if that actually happened and the bullet actually connected, what do you guys think? First of all, the Republican nominee would have then become, DeSantis, you think? Nikki Haley? Probably DeSantis? I don't know. I honestly have no idea who it would have been, because I don't think it would have mattered. And then the other part of it is, do you think that the Democrats would have been like, this is our opportunity to take Joe out and we have the opportunity to do a total reset here with the election. 24 hours ago, we thought it was going to be Donald Trump and Joe Biden in November. And right now we have the opportunity to make it like Gavin Newsom versus Ron DeSantis, or like Gretchen Whitmer, whoever you want it to be. Pete Buttigieg, pick whoever you want. Kamala, whoever you want. We can do that. Or do they look at it and say, well, actually, we can definitely win if we just keep Joe in here. So like, let's just do that. Would have been really interesting to see, right? I say maybe interesting isn't the right word to use there, because it also would have involved Donald Trump getting murdered, which may surprise a lot of you to hear this. I actually don't want that to happen. I actually don't want to see Donald Trump get his head blown off on national TV. But damn, were we close to it, right? Melania comes out with a statement, and she referred to the bullet that struck her husband, allegedly struck her husband. Maybe it was a piece of glass. We don't know yet. Relax. But she referred to it as a violent bullet, as opposed to what? And then she also went on in her same statement, she went on to cite Donald Trump's love for music and how that was almost stripped from the world. He loves music so much. And I was like, that's pretty funny to think in that moment that Trump goes to the ground, Secret Service huddled around him, like pinning him down, being like, do not fucking stand up. Trump is on the ground, first of all, wondering where the fuck his shoes are, I guess. But then also being like, Bernadette Carroll, laughing on the outside. If only I could be listening to that right now. Like, that is my total happy place, is Bernadette Carroll's laughing on the outside. Yeah, maybe. I'm shocked. And honestly, guys, I lost a little bit of sleep over this last night. And this is where I'm talking about the part where I overreact. Because for this to happen the week of the Republican National Convention being held in Milwaukee, fuck. First of all, either timeline, if he's dead, oh my God. And they got it, oh my God, if the RNC happens and Trump has died 2 days earlier, oh my God, could you have imagined that? But the guy has a very, very real opportunity this week to do the right thing. And I think to, like, believe it or not, Donald Trump, you actually do have to be the bigger person in this moment. And I would beg and implore that man to use his words very carefully. Because if he shows up and he goes out there and he's talking about the woke stream media and what they're doing to try to, they don't want to see us win, this type of shit, and like explicitly blaming, Democrats and the woke stream media, the liberal media, if he starts blaming them, it's time to get a little bit like, oh, okay, so Whoops. Because if we're going to start going around murdering political figures, that's a tough America. That's a tough America. You know, and you think about the fact that, first of all, and I guess the reason that that would scare me so much is not just because people are then maybe at risk, people of dying, but also because it's not true. From what we know so far, it looks like the assailant is or was a registered Republican. Now, that shit doesn't really matter, honestly, because from what it sounds like, maybe this is worth saying if you haven't heard about this. This is not like a, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? I read this like secondhand. I don't know if it's true, but apparently the kid, an alleged motive here was that it's not about Trump as a president. It was about all the Epstein shit. And so he was like cleansing the world of like pedophiles. And like, that's again, an alleged motive here. So like, okay. And then if you want to do the alternate timeline and Donald Trump is dead, I'm desperate to know what conservatives are saying about gun control right now. What does that conversation look like? Because you can do a good guy with a gun conversation all you want, but what happens when it's the Secret Service? What happens when the good guy with a gun is the motherfucking Secret Service and they fail? They fail, and the guy that they let die was your boy. What are we saying about guns then is what I desperately want to know. Also, the kid didn't have like any optics on the gun, and he just kind of walked up there. He just kind of went up on he had a ladder, and there were bystanders. A reporter did an interview with one of the bystanders with the BBC, and the dude was like, we saw him for like 5 to 10 minutes, and we kept trying to point him out. We saw him on the roof with a gun, and we kept being like, why is Trump still talking? Why haven't they shut this shit down? We're looking at him right now. And then, you know, everything starts to ring out. Let me steer this thing back from what I was talking about a minute ago. And just what's just worries me a little bit, because I do, this is a very honest moment of like self-reflection. I fetishize conflict. And to me, the idea of America falling into some sort of a conflict, like a civil war, is very morbidly exciting to me. And so what I think could come out of this attempt on Donald Trump's life, the absolute worst case scenario, does excite me. But the real part of my brain is like, you have a family now. You have a family now and a son that you love very much, and a girlfriend that you love more than anything in the world. And, you know, I'm not really I always hate when dudes are like, man, I'm their protector, you know, because to me, that always comes with very old world. You know, I don't feel like I am protective of her and of my son, but I don't feel like I need to protect her. Like, she could kick ass. Like, you know what I mean? So but I do feel a little bit worried about a future America that he lives in. While I don't want to go too off the rails with that, I will say that I think that the odds of America descending into chaos because somebody tried to kill Donald Trump are low. America is a very hard country to shake off of its axis, right? Especially, I mean, domestically maybe is different. I think maybe what's the precedent for like domestic terrorism, you know, in America? I mean, because with like foreign shit happening to us in my lifetime, the biggest one, like I wasn't alive for Pearl Harbor, but that counts. And guess what? Like America rallied and then saved Europe. Shout out to Russia too. We saved Europe collectively. Only us and Russia. Nobody else helped. And then the other one, September 11th, and then the Boston Marathon, I think was the last one that was like a major foreign attack on American soil. This is just not as funny to me, I guess, as I thought it was. Except the fact that there was Donald Trump's last words were almost, and if you want to see something really sad, through the side of his fucking head. And if you want to see something really sad, dead. At like 76. How old is Donald Trump? Dead. Pennsylvania. But I did think that this was going to be, and I don't mean, Grandma, I'm really not trying to say it's funny, because that shit's not funny at all, and it's weird. This is probably the most like 25-year-old thing that I could, oh, whoa, I'm 26 now, I can't say. This is the most like 26-year-old, you've never experienced anything in your life thing that I could say right now. Whoa, this is what it feels like for a president to almost die? Whoa, this isn't that chill, actually. I don't care who he is. I don't care how deplorable I think he is. I don't want to see him get his head blown off on TV. I've watched the Kennedy video 15,000 times. I've seen it in VR. I've seen it in 3D. Okay? I'm desensitized to it because I didn't live through it, but to watch a country and its ebbs and flows socially and politically reach a point where someone does feel emboldened to do that is scary. That's really scary. Because we've seen the brain rot. And even though it's the shit that at the end of I love when people talk about it. I love reading people talk about it, is the truth. But I don't like when they, yes, I don't like when they actually do it. You talk about disruptive activism. Killing the former president of the United States is certainly, it's certainly disruptive. It's certainly disruptive, but I'm all out of sorts with this thing. I can't make heads or tails of it. And it also makes me realize I'm like thinking about Lee Harvey Oswald nonstop, man. I don't know if that was the greatest heat check of all time or if he was like carried by a generational super team in the CIA. But at the same time, whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald was just Ray Allen in the corner that day in Dallas, the shot still landed. You know what I mean? All three of them, all four of them, however many there were. And this kid rings a few out from, and in a moving car from what elevation and from how far? What? I mean, you talk about a 1 in a minute. John Wilkes Booth from point blank range. The dude who killed Shinzo Abe is probably, what happened to him? What happened? Is he dead? Or what's going on? I don't know. I don't remember what happened to the guy who killed Shinzo Abe. He might be in jail. I don't remember what happened to him. If he's dead, he's rolling in his grave for sure. That dude built a gun. That guy wanted to see somebody dead so bad, he manufactured a fucking weapon on his own. This kid in Pennsylvania probably went to Walmart, went to the back of the store. Some clerk sitting there opens up the little, when I'm talking about the glass thing, he says, oh, you want this piece of shit? He's like, here you go. Out the door. And the kid's like, oh, one more thing. Can I get a ladder? The guy's like, yeah, no problem. He's like, what are you doing today? You going to shoot the president? He's like, haha, that'd be funny, right? The guy's like, yeah, anyways, like, kid, go on. What? The kid was also wearing a shirt from, is a YouTube channel called Demolition Ranch, I believe. I'm a little familiar with it. I only knew that they were like a gun channel, but I'm only saying that to say if there's ever a day where I make merch for this show, which might not be that far in the future, I really want to do it. I just haven't executed it. But if I ever do that and you guys wear my shit to like do an atrocity, you'll never hear from me again. I'm going to be furious. I'm going to be pissed. Unless it's like a good one, unless it's like a good atrocity that I support. Behind the scenes, I probably won't support it on the surface. No, because then it's going to seem like I'm supporting so you're capable of supporting some shit behind the scenes, but you won't. Oh, Nick, that's not very authentic, and that's why we listen to the show. You're right, that is not authentic at all. So I will just outwardly support it. So I'm just going to go down with the ship. So if you wear this is dumb. Get back to the Trump thing because that's way more interesting. You guys sent in a lot of emails about this. I think in the first hour after, while it was happening, we got probably like 30 to 40 emails. And to me, that was the funniest, maybe one of the funnier parts of this whole thing. And honestly, did make me feel a little bit better and kind of settled me back down because it was just the idea of you sitting with your family. You're sitting wherever you are and you've received the news that Donald Trump was almost killed. And you're eating dinner with your family and you like have to excuse yourself at the table because you have to send a guy on the internet a fucking email telling him that, oh, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say. And I'm teasing you guys, but it did make me happy. The reason I'm bringing this up is because there was a very interesting phenomenon happening in the Coping Hour Subs email account, which by the way, copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email will be available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this show. So you all sent in about a paragraph's worth of shit. Hey, Donald Trump, I can't wait to hear what you say about this. And then you would throw in your own little thing. But about 90% of your emails had a second or third paragraph that talked about how appreciative you were of me and the show. And I thought it was interesting because in the face of something very serious happening, in the face of someone who, again, whether you like him or not, I recognize that most of you who listen to this program are not going to like him, right? Your brain still kind of went to this, like, I don't know. It's like you're like thinking of your loved ones, like holding it, it holds your loved ones a little tighter tonight because Donald Trump almost got killed. I thought it was, and boy, did I appreciate it. And boy, did it make me, I felt great about it. One of you guys actually did say, I'm not going to read it, unfortunately. I'm not going to pull it up because it would just take me too long because I just don't have it immediately ready. One of you guys sent in an email asking, I think, if Lee Harvey Oswald was like a system assassin. It might have been. And I think it was also pretty believable as a conspiracy because JFK hated communists and Lee Harvey Oswald was a communist sympathizer. So it's like, well, if we just frame this dude, whether he did or not. And I touched on this a little bit at the beginning. I don't remember if I landed the plane on it or if I just kind of kept jumping around to a bunch of different things. So I apologize if I did, but I am going to say this again. I think what I had said was a major event like the Kennedy assassination or 9/11. You can't have something like that happen and there not just be a bunch of like questions and conspiracies, and it's impossible. But I just caution people a little bit to not let themselves fall into it. Again, and I don't know, what I'll give them is this. What I will give people is this. If there's anybody, no, frame that differently, dude. Don't do it. Frame it differently. Here's how I'm going to do it. The guy, first of all, can't stop catching fucking W's. Kicked ass at the debate. You are lying to me in my face. If you say that those two photos of Trump immediately after he stands up and he's holding his fist up and he's got blood on his face, that's the hardest shit I've ever seen in my life. I was furious. As soon as I saw the photos, I'm like, first of all, Time photos of the year. They were just, the amount of the photographers at this event, Jesus Christ, they're all set for life with the amount of photos that they took. They're all breathtaking. But those two pictures, man, I was like, you're going to see it on t-shirts, hats, bumper stickers, forever. This guy's immortalized forever. Fuck. Those pictures rule. The guy knows how to play into it, right? I don't think him doing fight, standing up and pumping his fist, fight, everyone chanting USA. I don't know, I believe that was raw. This guy did TV for how many years? He was popping fake blood capsules in the WWE for how many years? This guy knows what he's doing. This guy's a fucking professional. And I think, one of the other conspiracies, one of the other things that people are conspiring about, rather, is when you listen, there is audio of him. It got picked up on the mic when they were trying to pick him up. He was like, let me find my shoes. And people were like, oh, really? In that moment, the first thing that he was worried about was his fucking shoes? I was like, the guy almost got shot in the head. And then before he even was able to be like, what the fuck just happened? 6 dudes tackled him. And I'm sure, I really wonder. I was reading an article from, I think it was Reuters this morning. I've read an article from every goddamn corner of the American political landscape in the last 12. I've read everybody's perspective on this thing. But I was reading, I think it was from Reuters. And they were like, do you wonder if in the last 12 hours since this has happened, that he had, I'm sorry, I keep saying 12 hours, since, as of this taping, since it's happened, has there been a come to Jesus moment a little bit with him, do you think? Do you think he at all has kind of been like, fuck, maybe I need to chill a little bit? Maybe I need to, like, I don't know, maybe Barron needs more, like, physical touch. You know, just like father-son shit. Like, every dude can probably look back and be like, I could have used some more physical touch in my life from my father, right? Some more expressed love, right? Even more, you know, just some like, you know, rub my head or something. Maybe give me a fucking hug. Maybe that. My son's lucky. He's not going to have that problem at all because whatever form of neurodivergent I am, texture is a really big thing for me. So I'm like always like feeling his head and shit and giving him kisses and stuff. So he's not going to have a problem with that. But you wonder if maybe that's where Trump is. And I just don't think so. And I'm worried he's not going to be able to help himself in Milwaukee this week. And he's just going to take it to another level because from his perspective, or at least from the perspective of his voters, now is the time. If there was ever a time to get on your soapbox and be like, and to just really reiterate all the shit you've been saying for 8 years, it's probably after you almost got killed. It doesn't matter the motive or like why it almost happened because they already believe what they're going to believe. The same way, by the way, such a weird event. What a polarizing event to not actually polarize. Where's the take in here? Let's find it. Take out our take detectors. I guess I just don't think that people's minds are going to get changed by this at all. You know, and I don't know what happened when it almost happened to Reagan. I don't know if there were people out there who were like, oh yeah, I don't like this guy. You know, he's a governor of California. I hated his movies. They all sucked. And then he almost got killed. And did people flip? Did people kind of empathize and say like, all right, maybe this guy's not so bad after all. And he's not at least, and even if I don't like him, he's not so bad that he should be killed. That is not the political temperature in America these days, right? I would also say that's maybe another piece of this, by the way, is that media literacy being as low as it is in America now, that's not going to help. And I'm sure the amount of misinformation that's being spread through various channels is probably pretty terrifying. Do we need to even get to November? Is it a doomer take to say that we might have just wrapped that shit up? Anything that whatever we thought was going to happen in November at this point, I don't think, you know, maybe it's worth unpacking how I'm feeling about the fact that it was Donald, because I'm not upset that I got to check myself a little bit. I don't want to say that I don't care that he as a dude almost just died. I think what's messing with me is that it was the president. And so the more that I watch the video and the closer that you know, the more you realize rather how close we were to actually witnessing that. Not as a meme, not as a joke, but in real life. You pump the brakes a little bit and you just realize sort of where we've arrived at politically in America. And to rehash what I had said at the beginning about having a family now, and that worrying me a little bit because I went out of my way as a kid to look for trouble, like on the internet, and to find things that I like wasn't supposed to see. Like it was like a task, like a challenge. You know what I mean? Like I just loved doing that. And the result of it was I saw some shit that I shouldn't have seen as a kid, right? Because the internet was the Wild West. So much so that it's like you can pretty much have unrestricted internet access because nobody knows what's fucking on here. And that's how you're 9 years old and you watch a dude get his head blown off, or you watch like an ISIS beheading video. I'm saying this to say I don't love the idea of my son growing up in an America where people feel emboldened to kill political leaders. And then you find yourself in quite the juxtaposition, just to pivot and not talk about my family anymore, because that's going to really kill my vibes. Not talking about my family, but talking about them and a future that I don't want him to live in, rather. But there's a juxtaposition, right? Is it possible to be the same guy who talks about disruptive activism and how everybody wants to be part of the revolution until it's time to start the revolution? Can you be that guy and also get a little bit nervous when a political leader is almost killed in broad daylight. Yeah, no, I don't think so. But I do I think I'm allowed to be a little unnerved about it because it's like, oh, so we are going to do this then. I didn't know okay, I wasn't ready yet, but all right, let's do it. Okay, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it. But then you just, can you even martyr that guy further than he already has been? How many events need to happen? How many events need to happen before we stop saying, oh, this is just going to turn him into a martyr? I feel like we've said that like 10 times in the last year. Didn't we just get done saying that like 2 weeks ago when they started wrapping all of his court shit up? And now here we are. Donald Trump shot in the ear. Allegedly. It may have been a rogue piece of glass. I don't know how he missed. I don't know how he missed. And there's guys, the timelines that exist where he didn't is, I think, alrighty, folks, we are going to actually have an enormous show for you guys. Like, at this point, it's going to be so long. So why don't we just move on? I'm actually going to pause, and I'm going to give myself some time to do like a mental reset from this and come back down a little bit. And then we're going to let's move on and let's talk about some Hall of Famers. Alrighty, part 2 to the active Hall of Famers currently playing in the NBA segment that we did on Friday. I got a couple notes for posterity up top here. The comment section to that episode, Friday's episode, was one of the funnier that I think I've ever seen on YouTube. I don't think I've ever seen you guys get more mad at me for like trivial shit. I mean this, I'm being so serious. It was some of the funniest stuff I've ever read in my life because a lot of it was real. A lot of it you guys had a lot of reason to be upset about. Like if you're a Sixer fan and you've been, you're waiting for me to get to the Sixers and like, ooh, what is he going to say about Tyrese Maxey? And then once I finally get to Tyrese Maxey, I'm like, this is going to be a long show. I don't really feel like it. And I just fucking move on. If you were a Bulls fan or a Hornets fan, you were probably pissed watching that one. Sometimes I'm just not going to do it. All right? I'm not your professional's professional. Sometimes if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to fucking do it. Now, the problem with that is for some of you out there, it will make for some pretty bad content when I just punt and seemingly never talk about your favorite team. Also, at the same time, though, there are a few things that we have to correct. And it's funny that I even brought up the Sixers because it's all about the Sixers. Everything that I have to correct is literally about the Philadelphia 76ers. So before we read off the list that we ended with, going over each team in the Eastern Conference, how many Hall of Famers did we come away with currently playing in the NBA? I don't know what the hell happened with Joel Embiid. I don't know if I like sidetracked and like just started talking about something else, or if I did say something definitive and it was maybe I just didn't mean what I said or something. I didn't say Joel Embiid is on the list. He's obviously on the fucking list. Joel Embiid is a Hall of Famer. The two other players that I didn't mention, Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is absolutely a Hall of Famer. I didn't even mention his name at all. I think it was because Basketball Reference didn't have him in the, I guess him being a free agent, but then coming back at Basketball Reference, I guess took him off the team because he just wasn't on the roster. And then the other one was Paul George. Paul George was the other player that, again, the Basketball Reference just hadn't updated the roster yet. So while I was looking at it, his name just straight up wasn't there, and it just was not on the top of my mind because I was instead thinking about the fact that I have to do this for a fucking hour. I was like dreading the segment, like 15 minutes. The Sixers were like one of the first teams that we did. Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Kyle Lowry. The short version of it is all three of them are absolutely Hall of Famers. So this brings the list to Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love maybe, Paolo Banchero, Jalen Brunson, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, the Jays, Al Horford, Drew Holiday, Cade Cunningham, Kyle Lowry, Joel Embiid, and Paul George. All active Hall of Famers currently playing in the NBA. When you read it out loud like that, and then you realize that there are still 15 other teams that we have to get through, it kind of makes you realize how big is the hall. Can all of these guys get in? How big is this place? Can all of them get in? Let's find out. Let's start with the Memphis Grizzlies out west. Top to bottom, some people, Nick, do the Zach Edey thing. I'm not going to do the Zach Edey thing. Derrick Rose is maybe should we start with Derrick Rose? Oh, if there was a cultural Hall of Fame, right? If there was a cultural Hall of Fame, Derrick Rose's first ballot, we're not talking about it. Career 17-3-5. Has been in the league since 2008. What was the criteria that we were doing the other day? It was like 15,000 points was like our benchmark. If you can get 15,000 points. And Derrick Rose is up to 12.5. And assists, he's up to 3,700. Is Derrick Rose going to get in there? Rookie of the year. He's probably made a handful of all NBA teams, right? I guess I could look at that right here. He's won an MVP, Rookie of the Year, All-Star twice, 3 times, All-Star 3 times. What the fuck? He finished 9th in MVP voting in 2021. Why? That was that was his Detroit to New York year. So this is when he got reunited with the. That was one of the first times that I ever knew anything about anything that other people didn't, and it felt really good. Was Derrick Rose, like 2 days before he got traded to the Knicks, sat out for the Pistons, and it was like a stomach bug. He was like, "I'm sick. I don't feel good." No, he was getting traded. Like behind the scenes, they were just like, "No, hey." Like I think Leon Rose was like, "Hey," surely he was running the team at the time still. Yeah, he would have been. He was like, "Hey man, just sit, Derrick. We're gonna come get him, but just like don't let him play. Okay, don't let him play." And the Pistons didn't let him play, and then he went to the Knicks. We're gonna say no. We're gonna say no for Derrick Rose. I don't think he's gonna get into the Hall of Fame. And then outside of that, the only other 2, I think there are 3 worth talking about here. Let's do Marcus Smart first. Do you get into the Hall of Fame for 3 first-team all-defenses and a Defensive Player of the Year? Do you get in for that? He's been on good teams, but this is honestly the most disingenuous shit I've ever done, that I'm even entertaining the fact that Marcus Smart might be a Hall of Famer. Jaren Jackson is the other one, but he would just have to be a world eater. And if I didn't, I spent probably too much time talking about Bam as a Hall of Famer. And if I spent that much time talking about him just to eventually say no, then I'm not going to get there with Jaren Jackson Jr. So Ja Morant ends up being the guy that we're talking about here. Somebody who the other day on the shoot around, there's a loose comparison in there somewhere for Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies to like Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Where if you watch the NFL, it's very easy right now to not remember that Joe Burrow is a quarterback and that the Cincinnati Bengals are absolutely a team that could make some noise. You just forget. Someone has a knee injury, they blow out they out for a season. You don't watch them for a full year. They're not going to be at the front of your mind. But, you talk about the Josh Allens of the world, the Patrick Mahomes, you want to talk about the Lamar Jacksons and the CJ Strouds. Well, people seem to have forgotten that Joe Burrow is absolutely in that conversation too. I think it's the same thing in the NBA with Ja Morant, maybe to a lesser degree, because I don't think that any of us are going to put Ja toe to toe with the other big dogs in the league. Well, I mean, like he's in the same stratosphere, but like it's with some of them, but like I'm not putting him up against the Jokic's and the Giannis's of the world yet. Like if you in a vacuum were like Ja Morant or Jalen Brunson, right now I would tell you Jalen Brunson, because the recency bias is I've actually seen Jalen Brunson play within the last like 2.5 months, 3 months. And I haven't, so it's just very fresh in my mind what he can do. When I think of Ja Morant, I think of dunk first, pass second. And there's nothing other than like the craziest posters that I've seen probably in a decade from like an individual player over and over again. Other than that, there's nothing that particularly sticks out. So I think Ja ends up being one of those guys like a Kyle Lowry where if you just win it for the same way we talked about Brunson, if you win it for your team, then yeah. But is that something that Ja can do? I don't know, because he takes a lot of shots. Whoa. In his last 3 seasons, I mean, I guess his most recent one hardly even counts. He's taking 20 shots a game. I had no idea. It makes sense. Your number one option, your point guard. Makes sense. Wow, his 3 ball is terrible. That doesn't feel great. I'm gonna say no to Ja. I'm gonna say no just because. What's the precedent on like? I'm trying to think of somebody who's in the Hall of Fame right now who like loves guns. We'll maybe circle around on that one. But okay, so no one from the Memphis Grizzlies. We now move on to the Denver Nuggets, and this one's going to be easy. So, okay, Nikola Jokic, Hall of Famer. Next. What is after that? Do the Aaron Gordon thing really quick. No, but like really fun. Really fun, but no. I'm not going to do the Michael Porter Jr. thing. I think it's interesting to talk about Jamal Murray because the Basketball Hall of Fame is actually kind of nice to sidekicks. They're not, and Jamal Murray, I don't think there's anybody who you could have found as a better partner for Jokic. Guy's averaging 17.5 points in his career, has won an NBA championship, only had 8,000 points. With Jamal Murray, one of those dudes that it's real easy to forget about him during the regular season. And there are some nights where you'll tune in and he'll go ballistic. But sometimes it's felt like maybe even this season, I guess, hey, man, I got it right in front of me. I can see it. I was going to say, it felt like this season he just like was never there. Damn, sneaky, is he ever there? What the hell? He played 59 games this year. He played 65 last year. I got no problems with that. That's fine. Year before that, he missed the whole year with a torn ACL. Prior to that, 48. COVID season, he played 59. Yeah, I mean, I guess he plays games. But it's the postseason. It's the postseason that you want Jamal Murray for because the dude's built for it. So, yeah, we'll do it. We'll go Nikola Jokic. I'm going to do some dead air for a second. I really need to chew on this. Because my thing, I feel like I've had a take in the past where I'm just like, man, you just forget about how good Jamal Murray is. Jamal Murray, he's not going in the Hall of Fame, man. Sometimes you just got to say it out loud and you just got to say, like, Jamal Murray, Hall of Famer. And if it just doesn't feel right coming out of your mouth, then like just don't write it down. So we're not going to write it down. Jamal Murray's not going in. We now move on to the Dallas Mavericks. We got Luka Doncic. We got Kyrie Irving. Both of them, I think, are going into the Hall of Fame. I think Luka is one of those. He's one of those players. Jokic, I think, would have been the same way, but he won a ring, so this doesn't matter anymore. Luka doesn't need one. I don't think he needs one. If he is just this guy forever, yeah, it'd be really nice if he won a championship, and especially if he is this guy forever, it's really hard to imagine that he doesn't win one. But I think that he's so talented that it won't matter. Is anybody else on this list that's worth giving a look to? No. I mean, Jason Kidd, just as a player coach, could be interesting. Seeing him get in. And then maybe Matt Barnes gives his like speech for him. That would be entertaining. Does Mark Cuban get in the Hall of Fame? I don't think so. So from there, we went with Luka and we went with Kyrie. Sorry, Mavs fans. I know that one was a little bit boring, but sorry about that. Now we move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we got Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is probably going to be a lock for this, no? I don't even think this is a question. He's won 4 Defensive Player of the Year. Isn't that tied most? Isn't that tied most ever? I think that's tied most ever. Has kind of reinvented himself with Minnesota. I mean, if not just as a player, I think Rudy Gobert has gotten a lot out of the guys in Minnesota, and I think his presence has been one of the crazier revelations this season for me was learning that the reason that Minnesota is so good defensively is because Rudy Gobert is like the defensive coordinator, and he's like, no, here's what we're going to do. Like, he showed up and he's like, here's how actually we're going to do everything. And then it just kind of worked. And Karl Anthony Towns has this like revolutionary season where he actually kind of reinvents the way that he plays and shows that he can play some winning basketball and can play defense, but it was also a tough year to say that about Cat when he was so hell-bent on chasing 70 or 80 or however much he was going for that they smoked a game to the Charlotte Hornets because he literally, he refused to play defense, and it was so bad that he ended up getting benched. I'm getting ahead of myself. I feel like I'm setting all that up just to say that Karl Anthony Towns is not a Hall of Famer, except the fact that I think he might be. But Rudy Gobert has been the poster child of defense for a decade at this point, and I think... that's another guy that I don't know if he's going to need one. I think for an era that only saw scoring, we will look back in a very revisionist way, I think, in appreciation of Rudy Gobert. So we're going to put him on there. And then the other conversation is Karl Anthony Towns. He's been in the league for 9 years. He won Rookie of the Year. He's been an All-Star 3 times. He's made one third-team All-NBA. Career high is 62 points. Probably the greatest shooting big of all time, like a 7-foot Steph Curry, as close to it as you can get. 13,000 points. I saw 450 steals, and I thought that was rebounds. And I was like, well, Karl Anthony Towns played 9 years and only has 450 rebounds? Jesus Christ. Scared the hell out of me. And then career three-pointers made. What? Huh? He's at 975. What? Hold on. Dirk. Well, Dirk's not going to have... That's more than Dirk. So is 975? Yeah, Dirk is 100% going to have more threes than that. And then who else do I need to look at here? I mean, just going off the top of my head, like Brooke Lopez or someone. I said, what the fuck? Dirk has 1,000 more made threes? I mean, I get that he played like 12 more years than Karl Anthony Towns is even at, so that like makes up for the time, but I would have thought, and he shot 38% on his career. Okay, so who else do I need to look up here? Okay, I say greatest shooting big man of all time. I'm really setting the table. I'm fucking Brook Lopez is at 930. Okay, so Karl Anthony Towns does have more three-pointers than Brook Lopez all time, which is cool. So can I put him in the Hall? I'm going to put Karl Anthony Towns in the Hall, not having more threes than Dirk Nowitzki? No, I'm not. Anthony Edwards? Yeah, I think so. Former number 1 pick in the draft. Finished second in Rookie of the Year voting. He's been an All-Star twice. Second team All-NBA. Finished at MVP voting somewhere this year. He was on the ballot. He got a few votes. One of those guys that could really, take it up a gear. And if we've talked about him as the face of the league, as one of the future faces of the league, it's hard to imagine that guy, who also showed up to Team USA this year and was like, I'm literally going to make everybody my son. It's hard to imagine that guy doesn't take it up a level at some point in his career. Seems like we're already on a pretty steady inclination with this. So I'm going to go a little bit lofty here maybe and say that Anthony Edwards, does he need a championship? Is Anthony Edwards good enough that he does not need it? Because who did I say that about? I said that about Luka. And so in his career, he's averaging 23 a game. I don't really need to do totals for a guy that just hasn't been in the league that long. And it's also a numbers thing that I feel like I'm doing too many numbers here, and that's kind of antithetical to what we do around here. But we are going to put Anthony Edwards on this list. Fuck it. He might be. No, I'm not putting him on the list. I can't. That's bullshit. Stop, dude. Okay, we now move on to the New Orleans Pelicans. And the conversation starts with, yes, Zion. Is there something with CJ McCollum? Is there something there? Is there something with CJ McCollum being a dude who, because it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, when you put him as the president of the Players Association, and just from a community standpoint, what CJ McCollum has meant to the NBA, and he's also hit almost 2,000 threes for his career. He's got 14,000 points. We said 15,000 is a really good. He's been a sidekick in his career, hasn't won a championship. CJ McCollum has put up 50 in his career. I don't know. He's won Most Improved before. I think on the merit of who he is as a dude and what he has meant to the game, maybe not necessarily on the court, there is a case for CJ McCollum here. There's a case. And then the real conversation. So Zion Williamson. This conversation would have been a lot more fun 5 years ago, but I think that this year was really important for him. Talk about reinventing yourself. It wasn't even just the weight loss. It was just it was palpable. There's just something about him being on a court that just felt different. And I think the boiling point was that Laker game in the play-in where he just kind of gets hurt, and I still don't understand what happened. And it sucked. Zion Williamson is absolutely capable of being a world-eating Hall of Famer. It's just a matter of can you get it out of him. And I think, again, we did this year to his credit. He not only played at a high level, but he played in a lot of games also. The Mariah Mills thing, does it count against him? People are going to ask. Because as a matter of fact, by the time Zion's eligible for the Hall of Fame, it's going to be people my age who are voting for him. We remember Zion. We remember Mariah Mills. We remember that shit. King? Right? So, no. But I'm going to give it to CJ. Maybe you guys will hate that shit, but I think that CJ McCollum is just too important to the corporate, almost the business part of the NBA. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit. Maybe he doesn't actually do that much. Oh, shit, I forgot they have DeJounte Murray. I mean, he's not a Hall of Famer, but that's cool. Jordan Hawkins, cool. Love him. Herb Jones, cool. Love him. Really good teammate, too, changing his number so that DeJounte Murray can, wear his number. That's awesome, dude. That rules. Jose Alvarado, Puerto Rican, the pride of Puerto Rico. Love him. No notes. Trey Murphy, love him. No notes. Brandon Ingram, I like him. I got some notes. But none of these guys are Hall of Famers. We're actually going to give it to CJ. We're going to give it to CJ McCollum there. And we move on to the Golden State Warriors. Oh, by the way, see, this is where I get caught. I didn't say for Dallas, because again, he wasn't in the basketball reference thing yet. I didn't say Clay. But Clay is also, and it goes without saying, I don't need to explain why. Which is kind of the problem I'm realizing with the Western Conference is a lot of these guys It's unspoken as to maybe why they'd be going into the Hall. I don't need to sit here and explain to you for 15 minutes why I think Jokic has a really compelling Hall of Fame. I don't need to explain that to you. But Klay Thompson is in there. So we move on to the Golden State Warriors. So we do the Steph thing. We do the Draymond thing. We do this. Steve Kerr could get reinducted as a coach, right? Like he could say, so fuck it. We'll put him in there. We'll put Bob Myers in there. Mike Dunleavy does not get in there. Maybe Joe Lacob gets in there. Everybody. I think everybody's getting in there. Just looking down the rest of it, like Wiggins doesn't get in there. Kuminga, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney. No, it's just going to be Steph and it's going to be Draymond. So we'll just write them down and we'll just move on. That one was easy. It's nice when you just look at a roster and you're like, oh, so it's Steph and it's Draymond, and then it's Kyle Anderson and DeAnthony Melton and Podziemski, and you're just like, oh, cool. So I can just move on. Okay, cool. Now the Oklahoma City Thunder. Sam Presti's not getting in the Hall of Fame. He's going to hell. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, certainly at this point, no. But, well, I mean, like right now, no, because it's like, he hasn't done that much. The team's been good for 2 years. Team's been good. He's been good for the whole time, but the team's only actually been good for 2 years, and in the eyes of most people, narratively, that's what matters, right? But he's been an all-star both years. Some people would argue he should have been an MVP this season. Ended up finishing second, finished fifth last year. Couple first-team All-NBAs. Finished second and most improved last year. I mean, this is a guy who is capable of, putting up 30 a game for a long time. Like between now and the end of the decade, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might flirt with 30 points every single year. It's really hard not to put that guy in the Hall of Fame. And with the way that Oklahoma City overachieved this year, it's not inconceivable. It's going to suck for them next year when they win 3 less games, but the West is so competitive that they're like 6th. And so then everybody's going to, Oklahoma City, they regressed and all this bullshit. It's like, no, it's just the difference is so marginal in the Western Conference that it's just so that's going to suck. But adding Isaiah Hartenstein and adding Alex Caruso, I think Shai might be another one of those players that doesn't need it because of how talented he is, and the numbers will just kind of, they'll just speak for themselves. It's really difficult to imagine this Oklahoma City team not only improving, and I don't mean like not only improving, but I just mean like they're only going to improve. And I think having your fearless leader being Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of all of the, because what is he? He's like my age, I think. I was going to say, of all of the sub, like 27 players, age 27 players in the NBA, Luka and Shai are probably the two that I want more than anything. Oh, even more than Cade. And Brunson too. I think that's old. I think Brunson would technically fall under. He would be eligible for my little list there. And I would take Luka first, but then Shai is like a 1B. I love him. So I say all of that because it was just a lot of, if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk right now. And I wasn't really making a definitive statement. Do I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a Hall of Famer? Yeah, but not yet. So I can't put him on I cannot. It would be disingenuous if I put him on here, but yeah, so we're not going to do it. We're going to move on. Alex Caruso, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. I'm not doing the Chet thing. Sorry. This is finally we get to a team and a player where I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not doing it with Chet. That's it. That's it. You want me to say Lou Dort? It's not Lou Dort. I want it to be Shai so bad, but for some reason it doesn't feel believable to type it with my thumbs. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. It wouldn't feel real. It wouldn't feel authentic. So I guess we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the Lakers, where we have Anthony Davis, we have LeBron James. We'll write them down, and hopefully, I don't think they didn't really add anybody, so it would be impossible for me to forget anything here. There's literally nothing else that I even need to look at. D'Angelo Russell is the only other one. Like JJ Redick, does he get in the Hall? Fuck off. Jeannie Buss. We talked about her actually in the Friday episode. I think she gets in. The only other guy on here that I think would be worth talking about would be D'Angelo Russell, and I think that's just because of a numbers thing. It's a numbers thing. He scored 10,000 points in his career. It's also has 1,500 turnovers, 3,200 assists, and 1,400 made threes. More threes than Karl Anthony Towns, by the way. Former teammates. Yeah, they would have been teammates. D'Angelo Russell's just kind of been the poster child of like good stats, bad teams forever, since he was 19. I don't remember how good those Ohio State teams were. I feel like they might have been decent. I think they were better when like Aaron Kraft was there, but I feel like they might have been good. So just never really been on board with the D'Angelo Russell experience. Oh, Nick, what about Bronny James? Ha ha ha. Now we move on to the Los Angeles Clippers. Josh Primo, Kevin Porter, Nick Batum, Derek Jones, James Harden. There we go. Jesus, an NBA player. Oh, thank God we finally got there. Yeah, we're going to write him down. And then we're going to look at, like, Kawhi. He's going to be in there. Kawhi's going to be in there. Russell, Westbrook, also in there. Ty Lue? Yeah, has to be. Tyronn Lue has to be. We'll put Ty Lue. We haven't otherwise really been writing coaches down, but just because it's Ty Lue and shout out to him, we will write Ty Lue down. Because if we were doing coaches, we have to go back and you know what I mean? Like we'd have to put Spoelstra on there. There's going to be so much shit that we have to do. So just, whatever. After that, I think, good. It's good. I hope this is, I don't know if you guys are looking for me to be, Russell Westbrook, his career and this and that. It's these, you know what I mean? Like, you really want me to give you my Kawhi, but then it's the, Nick, why did you do the segment if you won't do the segment? You know what? If you're going to do it, like, do that shit. You know what I mean? That's what I'm telling you, man. This is a hard job. All right? You can't please everybody, and you damn sure can't please yourself. Because no matter what you end up doing, you're not going to believe it. You're going to think it's dumb. You're going to think it's wrong, like I do right now. So we're going to move on to the Phoenix Suns. Grayson Allen. No. Bol. No. He's on a two-way? I don't think that's true. I don't believe that's true. Didn't even know they had Colin Gillespie. Okay, so Kevin Durant. Yeah. Book. Beal. Career high is 60 for Bradley Beal, 16,000 points. On the merit of numbers alone, he has to. He has to. No, he doesn't. No, there were plenty of dudes. No, I've been too annoyed by Bradley Beal's bullshit in the will he and won't he that he did with Washington for 10 damn years. It was always old. Never even played in that many games. Just collected a bunch of money every fucking year. Would flirt with the idea of maybe it's time for me to move on. And then the trade deadline would pass or some arbitrary point in the summer, and he would be like, "Nah, Washington's my home." 6 months later, repeat the fucking cycle. It was that with Bradley Beal for 9 years. I'm lying. For like 4 or 5 years, though. The tail end of it, he signed like 2 contracts that we were like, if you're going to leave, leave. And then he just never did. Bradley Beal pissed me off too much in his career for me to be able to. And I like him. He's good. But I had way too much for me to sit here and say that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So he's not going to be in there. But KD is. And then I guess Book, if I want to do a numbers thing and talk about good stats, bad team, he's at 14.5 all-time points. Got 3,000 assists. Shooting 35% from 3 on his career. He's made 1,200 of them. It's 300 more than Karl Anthony Towns. He's scored 70. He's been to an NBA Finals, right? He's going to play for Detroit someday. He's a 4-time All-Star. He's a first-team All-NBA, third-team All-NBA. We're going to put Devin Booker in the Hall of Fame. How's that one feel? Nick, you wouldn't put Bradley Beal in there, who, if not by every conceivable metric, then at least ostensibly is better than Devin Booker. Yeah. How's it feel? I like it. I think it feels better than saying that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to get in the Hall of Fame. I like him, by the way. I still like him. I still like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That hasn't changed. It hasn't. I just think Devin Booker's going to get in the Hall of Fame. Now we move on to the Portland Trailblazers. Donovan Clingan, you guys big on him? Duop Reith, y'all love him. Blazers fans love them some Duop Reith. I know that's right. Denny Avdia, the pride of Israel. Jeremy Grant, nope. Matisse Thybulle, talk about a dude who a year ago motherfuckers were like, if you know, you know, and now people are like, who is that? Chris Murray, I wanted him pretty bad. I like this roster. That's what I'm learning. Looking down at this roster, Robert Williams, Shaedon Sharpe, Anthony Simons, Jabari Walker, DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Henderson, Chris Murray, Matisse, Jeremy, Danny, Doo-Wop, Donovan Clingan. That's a squad. I mean, they're going to win 25 games in the West. That roster rules. None of them are Hall of Famers. This is a young roster. They got big dudes on this team. Jesus. Look at you, Portland. Oh, and Chauncey's their coach. Hall of Famer, by the way. I would say this Moda Center is the Hall of Fame-worthy arena. How's that? Try that one on for size. Let's move on to the Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron Fox. The theme of the Western Conference, I guess, in this episode has been like players who reinvented themselves. Kinda. Well, no, that's not. De'Aaron Fox didn't reinvent himself this season. He just got really fucking good at shooting threes. That's it. It's like the only thing that changed. It's just all of the threes that he was already shooting, they just went in. That's it. That's like the only thing that I don't even think it was a volume thing. Was it? I mean, yeah. No, but that's a story, though. That's a story. Because in the span of 2 years, De'Aaron Fox is shooting 4 more threes per game and is shooting, what's the math on this? I can't do the math on this. He was shooting 29% from 3 2 years ago, and now he's shooting 37% on 4 extra shots. So that's a dude who just bump, keeps going up the ladder. What the hell is Sepoy? What the fuck is this? Clutch Player of the Year. So when they tell me this, right, okay, so he won Clutch Player of the Year last year. That's not real. I forgot that don't try to push that shit on me, NBA. He's an all-star, 3rd-team All-NBA, finished 12th in Clutch Player of the Year voting this year. What are his totals at? I mean, and then so he's got about 10,000 points, got about 3,000 assists. He's hit 697 threes in his career. That's 300 less than Karl Anthony Towns for posterity. De'Aaron Fox also did not win a natty at Kentucky, but did get on Lonzo's ass. Maybe twice, right? Didn't they play once in the early in the regular season, like November, and then they came back around in March? Pretty sure that's how that one went down. We are going to say no, though. It's going to be a no, De'Aaron Fox. It's going to be a no. Unless you win a championship. You're just one of those guys. Domantas Sabonis. If I wouldn't put Bam in, I can't put Sabonis. Right? That's consistency, right? That's fair. I'm actually asking. It's not like you can answer me in real time. I'll just have to read the comments after the fact and be reassured then. So hopefully you guys agree with me. Because I like Sabonis more. That's not true. It's a little true. Because Bam's with the Heat. If he was literally anywhere else, I have his jersey. You know what I mean? If that's fair. If the only thing that Bam has on Sabonis anyways is defense. So, okay. All right. So Sabonis can't get in, and that's a bitch. But DeMar DeRozan, we talked about this actually a little bit, like maybe a week ago or something. Has like 90 less, something like a 46 points less than Steph all time. Yeah, DeMar's at almost 24,000 points. And has only made 531 threes in his career. That's 450 less than Karl Anthony Towns. He's played like 6 extra seasons. DeMar DeRozan has been in the NBA for 15 years. Everywhere he's gone, he's been a scorer. Everywhere. Everywhere he's gone, it's not necessarily been a winner, but he's been damn good. He's made a couple All-Stars. He's finished in some MVP races. He's made some All-NBA teams. DeMar DeRozan may have been like 10 years too late to the NBA, but damn it, he's had a place the whole time. It will not matter how the rest of his career goes. I love what Sacramento is building. DeMar DeRozan is a Hall of Famer. He just is. So we'll add him to the list. DeMar DeRozan. Fucked up that DeMar DeRozan was on this, but like Paul George and all the other trades, Klay Thompson like wasn't, but I did get to see DeMar on it. Okay, all right, cool. Anybody else, just make sure I'm not missing anybody. Malik Monk, no, I'm not. He's not going to. Keegan Murray, I'd love it. Kevin Huerter, no. Okay, all right. And that's going to be it. We move on to the San Antonio Spurs. So yes, we have Nick, hold on. Can I really say about a 20-year-old? Yeah, all right, next. Let's move on. Can I do that, you think? Can I say about Victor Wembanyama, like, next? I think so, and I'm going to do it. So Victor Wembanyama's in the Hall of Fame, and then outside of that, I don't know if there's anybody that we need to... Oh, Chris Paul. Chris Paul. And instead of doing like a whole Chris Paul's career, so we'll do Chris Paul, and then we'll do Wemby. Can I ask you guys something since it's not coming home, England? Is Harry Kane just Chris Paul? Is it the same picture.jpg? Because here's what I see. I'm in the crow's nest. I'm in the fucking, you know what I mean? And so I just got a question. Because with Chris Paul, it's been both the worst luck imaginable and just injuries, which is part of the worst luck imaginable, but you know what I mean. Like missing 27 consecutive threes and his hamstring being all fucked up in that series. You know, kind of the same thing, but it's not. Those are two different things. You know what I mean? But with Harry Kane, it just feels like it's never that. It's just, he's like consistently given the best team in Europe, if not in the world. And it's never, for some reason, it just never works out. It's kind of, I feel like it's the closest that we can get to it, maybe. Harry Kane and Chris Paul are the same thing. And then what's the deal with, what's this guy's name? Gareth Southgate? Is that his name? Let's ask Siri on the fly. Hey Siri, what's the name of the English manager, the football manager? I fucked up the Gareth Southgate. Yeah. It's Gareth Southgate. It's the very same. So what's his deal? So he's Doc Rivers? You give that guy 3 MVPs from 3 different leagues in 3 different countries, and he's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with all this? And they're like, you have Harry Kane. He's like, who? Is it the same thing? Although with Doc, he had 2008. Has Gareth Southgate ever won anything? Has he ever won anything? Because all I ever hear is that he's bitch made and that he shouldn't be the manager of England. When is it going to come home? When is this supposed to come? Sorry if that made a loud noise, me bumping the mic there. When is this supposed to come home? Let's get back to this. So the San Antonio Spurs have 2 Hall of Famers. And outside of that, Sohan, Keldon, Harrison Barnes. I could make the Harrison Barnes case, but I wouldn't believe it. How many? Ooh, this is a big moment. We need to check something really quick. We need to see how many career threes Harrison, because people have lied on that motherfucker's name for way too long. They said he sucked in one of the 2015 finals. They said Harrison Barnes sucked. That's a lie. Check your facts. That didn't happen. Harrison Barnes has hit almost 1,300 threes in his career. That is almost 400. Sorry, the math on this technically would be it is almost 300 more than Karl Anthony Towns for his career. So, okay, so the San Antonio Spurs, they got 2 future Hall of Famers. 2 of them. 3 if you count Pop, if he's not already in. Again, I don't know. I fucking don't know. The Utah Jazz, John Collins, Laurie. Wow, Laurie Markkanen, the only non-American on this team. No. Walker Kessler, no. Colin Sexton, I wish. That's good. Kenny Lofton on the team? Didn't know that. Darius Baisley's on this team? What the fuck is this roster? What is this roster? This is the most cursed shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, I knew Jordan Clarkson was still here, but what the hell is he still doing there? Why won't anybody come get him? Where's Taylor Horton-Tucker? Where the fuck is Taylor Horton-Tucker? What? Since when was he not on this team? Taylor Horton-Tucker. Said he's out of the league? Wi-Fi in its racket? That dude was just on Utah. Where did he go? Is he a free agent right now? Does Taylor Horton-Tucker suck? What happened? Hall of Famer. We'll put him in the Hall of Fame. The last team, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. The last team. The Houston Rockets. Fuck them. None of them. None of these guys. Amen? Well, I would put Amen in there. No, I wouldn't. What the fuck? I didn't put a Sar in there. Why would I put Amen in there? Aaron Holiday, didn't know he was... Okay, Aaron Holiday's still in the league. I guess he's in Houston. Dylan Brooks, no. Fred VanVleet. Oh. No, he would have to do it for Houston. He would absolutely have to do it for Houston. Jalen Green. Jeff Green is an actual journeyman who just on this merit of like how long, like just his durability, how many teams he's played for. I would put Jeff Green on like, not in the Hall of Fame, but if there was like a ring of honor for the Hall of Fame, I would put, that's like where Jeff Green goes. You know what I mean? Cam Whitmore, no. Steven Adams, I wish. Jayshawn Tate, no. Jabari Smith, hell no. Şengün, maybe. Tari Eason. What did Tari Eason do? Didn't he do something dumb? No, I think he was, Tari Eason was the one that was horny in the bubble, right? That was what Tari Eason, that's what I'm thinking of. He was the one who, during the NBA bubble, like invited a woman and they like compromised the health of the bubble because like someone from the outside it infiltrated. And then their coach, Ime Udoka. No. Who's the owner? Tillman Fertitta? Yeah, not him. Probably not him. That guy's the worst. Like, maybe worse than Tom Gores, but, like, probably not worse than Tom. He's probably not worse than Tom Gores. But that's going to do it, folks. That's it for the Western Conference. Those are all your players. You want to hear the list? There's a lot of active Hall of Famers in the NBA, I think, is what we learned here. And I think, in a lot of ways, this goes to show how much the league, rather, how much the Hall of Fame sucks. So let's do this. And maybe let's tweak it on the fly if we feel like we have to. Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love maybe, Paolo Banchero, Jalen Brunson, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez, the Jays, Al Horford, Drew Holiday, Cade Cunningham, Kyle Lowry, Joel Embiid, Paul George. That was the Eastern Conference. I'll give you a little break. Me reading a bunch of names. How did those ones feel? And now we go to the ones that we just did for the Western Conference. Active Hall of Famers in the NBA. Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Rudy Gobert, CJ McCollum, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, Tyronn Lue, who's the only coach we put in here just because it felt just out of respect, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Paul, and Victor Wembanyama. All active Hall of Famers in the NBA. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Do you like that counting segment? 34, 33 if you subtract the maybe from Kevin Love. 34 active Hall of Famers in the NBA. If I told you that without having listened to the last two episodes, would you believe me? Would you believe me? Because there are, 400, give or take, players in the NBA? So the math on that. What percentage is 34 of 400? Asking Siri for those listening on audio. It's 8.5%. So if I told you that 8.5% of the NBA right now will be in the Hall of Fame by the end, at some point, like over the next 20 years, some of the 8.5% of them will be in the NBA. That sounds right to me. That sounds right. Because the Basketball Hall of Fame sucks. The Baseball Hall of Fame is what's cool. I wish we had the Baseball Hall of Fame in the NBA. That'd be cool. But you can't get 3,000 hits in basketball. You can't get... what's the strikeout number? Is it like 2,000, 3,000? I don't know how many the strikeout number is. But in baseball, it's like it's almost like an unwritten rule, man. If you get 3,000 hits or if you get 500 home runs, it's a pretty good chance you're going to get into the Hall of Fame because it's impossible. It's so hard to do that. The all-time home run record will one day be broken, whichever of the two you recognize, the Barry Bonds or the Hank Aaron, whatever. MLB still recognizes Barry, right? I don't know. It's one thing to do that. Nobody's touching hits. Now, I don't think anybody will ever get to 4,000. It's fucking insane. At the same time, though, nobody thought that Kareem's scoring record would be broken, and then LeBron just had to play for 20 years at the absolute highest level that he could and, take as much HGH as there is in the world. So if that's all that you have to do is just do that, then surely. But that's it, folks. That's the segment. That's probably going to do it for today's show. Maybe we'll just kind of riff here, just kind of see what's going on. I got my mother-in-law coming to town this upcoming weekend. So going to be doing a bunch of cleaning and whatnot. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Hopefully I hope, honestly, and I hope this doesn't sound dumb. I hope that you guys aren't fucked up over, again, even if you don't like Trump. I just hope it hasn't rattled you that much. Because it is scary. It's all right to be like, again, man, even if you don't like him, it's all right to be kind of like, whoa, what the hell was that? That was weird. I think in like a week we'll all be over it a little bit, but it's been, I know it's only been probably like 45 minutes since you heard me do all of the Trump stuff. It's been a couple hours since I actually did that, though, because like I said, I just kind of worked myself up a lot. And, I just don't. It's fucking crazy. That guy was almost dead. I mean, the conversations that we would be having. And do you realize something, folks? If there was a world where episode number 69 was the episode where Trump gets assassinated, that almost we were like that close to that happening. If it's hard to explain the scheduling, but that could have happened. And it's insane that all it took was Trump like leaning left. Imagine that, for that to not happen, because he leaned a little bit and the bullet did not go through his brain. Whoa. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to rate 5. Nope. If you're listening to this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Potentially the longest episode we've ever done of the Coping Hour. Maybe. It's up there. Love you guys, man. I mean, seriously, the emails that, as hilarious, genuinely as fucking hilarious as they were, show-stoppingly funny as they were, that you guys were like, some of you were having such serious come to Jesus moments. And again, it sounds like I'm shitting on you, but it was very interesting. How many of you were like, can't wait to see how you shit on old number 45. Anyways, if you ever stop recording the show, I will fucking die. I was like, oh, that's very nice of you. Alrighty, folks. I will catch you guys in the next one.